It's Patrick Hutzel from Intensive Care at Home, where we provide tailor-made solutions for long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies by improving their quality of life, and where we also provide tailor-made solutions to hospitals and intensive care units, reducing the cost of an intensive care bed by 50% whilst providing quality care. In last week's blog, I talked about looking after ventilated patients with tracheostomies at home is like flying a plane. You can only do it with skill and experience. You can check out last week's episode by clicking on the link below this video. In this week's episode, I want to publish another case study. And this week's case study is From Pediatric ICU to Home, a toddler approaching end of life at home. Last year, we have been asked to help a young family leaving a pediatric intensive care unit with their 15-month-old toddler. The toddler had spent many months in hospital and in pediatric ICU after it had been diagnosed with a very rare hereditary genetic disease. The genetic disease caused respiratory and cardiac complications that required the toddler to spend many months in the pediatric ICU. The toddler gradually deteriorated since it first got diagnosed with the disease, and it came to the point where the family and the pediatric ICU team decided that further active treatment would be futile for the toddler and would only prolong the toddler's suffering. The family only had one wish, and that was to leave the pediatric ICU and let their toddler approach the end of their life in a more holistic and family-friendly environment. The toddler had recurrent hospital and pediatric ICU admissions over the previous few months. The toddler suffered from respiratory symptoms and recurrent episodes of very distressing gagging and vomiting. The gagging and the vomiting was also a result of the toddler needing frequent BiPAP ventilation after extubation and a period of intubation. Therefore, the symptoms had been difficult to control. Nasogastric feeds had also been reduced to minimize the risk of vomiting and aspiration. BiPAP ventilation was also required due to increasing and worsening tachypnea. The energy of the toddler had been gradually declining. The focus was shifting from active care to comfort care. Times of enjoyment for the toddler had come far and few in between. BiPAP ventilation and FiO2 was over 40%, and it was necessary to keep the toddler's oxygen saturation above 85%. It also became more and more difficult to manage the increasing secretions despite the usage of glycopyrrolate and hyoscine. As soon as the toddler came off BiPAP for secretion management and suctioning, oxygen saturations dropped to less than 85%, and the toddler became cyanotic very, very quickly. The toddler was in a position where it couldn't maintain their airway any longer. Overall, the family was hoping to spend some quote-unquote normal time at home with their dying toddler, with family and friends around them to celebrate the toddler's short life. Therefore, in order to make a smooth and safe transition from the pediatric ICU to home and give the family quality time with their toddler, the family needed our specialist skills with ICU and pediatric ICU nurses coming into their own home that could provide the expertise and skill to manage such a complex situation at home instead of the pediatric ICU. The toddler was transferred home via road ambulance. All equipment that was needed to look after the toddler at home was ready for use. This included a monitor, a suction machine, Guidel airways, a BiPAP machine, feeding pump, oxygen concentrator, as well as medications to manage the inevitable discomfort. Morphine, midazolam, clonazepam, and levomethorphan was ready to be given for symptom management. The family celebrated the short life of the toddler on the day of discharge from the pediatric ICU with family and friends in their own home, and it made it memorable for everyone. You can also read our other case studies by clicking on the link below this video in the written version of this blog. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just click on the link below this video. That'll get you to our website where you can read or watch other case studies. So if you want to find out how we can help you to get your loved one out of intensive care, including palliative care, or out of long-term acute care, also out of a nursing home, or if you find that you simply have insufficient support for your loved one at home on a ventilator with a tracheostomy or on home TPN or on BiPAP ventilation, if you want to know how to get funding for our service, or if you have any questions, please contact me on one of the numbers on the top of the website or send me an email to patrick@intensivecareathome.com. That's Patrick just with a K at the end. Also, have a look at our careers section. We are currently hiring ICU and pediatric ICU nurses for clients in the Melbourne metropolitan area, in South Gippsland and on the Mornington Peninsula. We are an NDIS, TAC and DVA approved community service provider in Australia. You can also have a look at our range of full service provisions by clicking on the link, on the service link. We have also been part of the Royal Melbourne Health Accelerator program for innovative healthcare companies last year. Thank you for tuning into this week's blog. This is Patrick Hutzel from Intensive Care at Home, and I'll see you again next week in another update.